is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That was the band Cirith Ungol with a song from King of the Dead. That one was called Master of the Pit, probably my favorite from the band in their history. Long history, a lot of hiatus time for the band, but they are back, and they've added this guy to the mix to make it even better. Friend of the show, he's, of course, the main man of Night Demon, as well as now the bassist of Cirith Ungol. It is the mighty Jarvis Leatherby. Jarvis, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me back on.
Dude, it is always great to hear from you, man. And you're obviously, as we were saying right before we got started, you're a busy cat, not only with the pending Night Demon release that's allegedly right around the corner, but, you know, you strike back first with one of these legendary underground bands, man, a band that, well, I'll just tell you a quick story, and it'll lead to you telling me a quick story. How's that?
Sounds good.
I remember when I was a kid, I was probably 12 or 13 years old in 1984, and I was more of a hair metal kid than a metal kid. And I remember finding a copy of Metal Massacre in a little record store called Spinmore Records. And I bought it only because it had the Rat song, Tell the World, on it. And I didn't know any of these. I didn't know any of these other bands that were on it at all. You know, maybe Metallica, but it was spelled different, so I didn't even think it was the same band. But I just didn't know any of these bands. So what ended up happening is, as I went along, I heard all these cool bands on it, Steeler and Malice and, you know, and what have you. And there's all these cool bands on it. And it really started leaning me more and more into a heavier direction of music. And the one band that I heard was this band, Cirith Ungol, which I didn't even know how to say the name. I probably still don't. But I didn't know anything about them. I figured they were from, you know, a land far away. And, you know, so I bought the only record that I could ever find from them, which was King of the Dead. And
oh, it's the best one.
And literally, if you wanted to wrap the band's history up until now into one album, that's it. Because I think that's like most of their songs that their fans even love are on that record. You know,
it's the greatest. It's like a greatest hits out. Like that album. If the band played all the songs like in one live show, if they played that whole album, it would be fine.
Sure. So that's where I discovered this band, and then they weren't around for that long before they, you know, went away, and then, you know, I just kind of moved forward with loving every other band in the world. But
yeah, life goes on. Life after Ungol.
Exactly. But I guess for you, man, because I know you're younger than I am. You know, how does a younger guy like yourself become a fan of a band that was pretty underground like this band?
Yeah.
You know, how did you discover them?
Yeah, well, you know, I never really liked them.
Okay.
To be honest, I thought they sucked, you know? Like, we're from the same town, Ventura, California. They were the only other heavy metal band ever from here, you know, like that did anything at least, you know? We're really known for like our history of hardcore punk and skate punk and 80s hardcore and stuff like that. You know, so they were the only metal band around. So I would just hear about them all the time. And like, you know, they never had any fans out here. You could find their first album in the dollar bin at every record store and every thrift store, you know?
Right.
So at the time, when like the Black Album came out, I was really getting into heavy metal, and I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And I wanted my metal to sound like that. When I listened to Frost and Fire, the first Cirith Ungol album, because it had the LP, you know, I thought it sucked. I was like, these vocals are terrible. The production sucks. Like, no wonder they're from my crappy one-horse town, you know?
Right.
You know, it just made all the sense to me. But, you know, through the years, I got to know them, and we became friends, and we became close. And, you know, I started to get into more of the history of the band. And as I got older and my taste changed and my palette widened, you know, and I would understand why records sounded bad. You know, after I had been in 36 bands myself, right?
Sure.
I started to have much more of an appreciation for it, you know, and now I understand it. But like, it's kind of like King Diamond. When I was a kid, I never got into it. Like like I just couldn't get past the vocals, you know. And now that I listen to it, I have a different appreciation. I understand it a lot more, you know.
Sure.
So it's like sometimes things just take things really have to grow on you that are different sometimes when they're extremely different from what you're used to. So when you're young, you're not willing to give things a chance. When you're young, you trust your intuition a lot more, you know?
Right.
It's like, no, this sounds like crap on first listen. I'm not going to waste my time with this,
right.
you know? And that's honestly a good way to live, you know? Like now the older we get, you know, the more influence we get by tastemakers and other people who surround us, we try and force things on ourselves when it's just like, no, you know. I was listening to some stuff the other night. I won't say which band, but I was like, why do I love this band so much? I really don't. I don't. I never have. They're known as one of the greats, but it just doesn't resonate with me. It's not as good as this, you know?
Right.
So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but
it's all good, dude. Yeah, it might as well be you and I talking at a bar, because I swear to God, I live exactly the same way. I have 100 bands that I listen to now that if you would have handed me when I was a teenager, I'd have been like, ugh, no, you know, I don't want anything to do with it. You know?
Right. I know, absolutely.
That's the wonder of metal. That's why I think it might really truly be timeless, because you don't have to like it necessarily when it's out to appreciate it eventually.
Exactly. I think it's the whole marriage of metal. I kind of just like figured it out. Like, right. I don't know why, or I tried to I've tried to always come up with a definition,
right?
You know, and I think like metal is like where the artwork meets the music, you know. It's like half and half. It's half imagery and half of the actual music itself, you know, because it's like you buy a Molly Hatchet album when you don't know what it sounds like, and you're like, oh yeah, you see the Frank Frazetta art, and then it's like Southern rock, and you're like, what? You know? Right. Like, it's just the whole, you know, it's the whole thing about it. So yeah, it's it's good to be a metalhead and be so involved in it, you know.
Sure.
It's a kick-ass lifestyle, man.
No kidding. Well, dude, and I'll actually add one other third to it. We'll cut it into thirds, because I think the other third is the camaraderie of the people that listen to it, because unlike everything else, I mean, you're obviously on social media and stuff, you know, if you want to talk politics, you just got to be ready to fight. If you want to talk religion, you got to be ready to fight. You want to talk about anything at all, you got to be ready to fight. But if I tell you that Iron Maiden is the worst band that ever played, we might argue that point for 6 or 7 days, going back and forth, note for note, song for song. But right. as a collective element, we're all in that same boat, and we'll never hate each other. You know, there's such a camaraderie amongst metal fans that I don't think exists in any other style of music.
It really doesn't. And it's funny, like, because, you know, with me being so involved on the business end of things and just kind of monitoring how the industry changes day to day, it's like I see there's not a lot of parallels between how the metal industry runs and how the major record companies run. They're completely different from each other now, you know?
Right.
Like there's the physical medium is basically dead in the mainstream. I mean, it's dead.
Right.
There's no big box record stores. You can't get a car anymore that has a CD player or a cassette player. You know, it just doesn't exist, you know? So, you know, it's just different. But for metal, you know, physicals are still king and they still sell well. And, you know, I think every format is cool. You know, that's what we always try and do. Cassettes, vinyl, CD, digital, however you want to listen to it, you know? That's the cool thing. You can listen to it however you want, you know? But a mainstream music is not supported on that level at all, you know? Like, it's funny. You see these like YouTube videos, like they give kids cassettes and stuff, and they're like, "What?" Or CDs, and they're like, they have no idea what it is.
Right.
You know? So, like, there you go. You know, it's just another. The world evolves, but some traditions stay. So it's good to have a marriage of all those things. You know.
Sure. It definitely is, man. Now, I know for you've obviously gotten involved with Cirith Ungol as not only the bassist, but you're, from what I understand, you're either, what are you, managing the band, or you're
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have since they reunited. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
that's you obviously have a project, Night Demon, that is clearly on the rise. And, I'm not saying that to blow your own horn. I know you know that as well. It's one of the very few new bands that's getting some traction, out there. And that's a great thing. At the same time, you take on a project managing a band that, while they have a lot of underground history, never really had a lot of, cash success, so to speak. It's an interesting challenge for you to take on, especially at a time when your own band is clearly on the rise.
Yeah. You're not the first person to tell me that. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I've been in situations in my life where it's just preparation. John Wooden said that. That was always one of my favorite quotes. The great basketball coach, John Wooden. He says, luck is where preparation meets opportunities,
right.
And I've just had some moments in my life where these opportunities have popped up, and I felt like I was ready for that. I was ready for that challenge and to bring that on and to, dedicate myself to it in a way that's going to make it great. So, I'm really proud of that. I mean, there was a lot of things surrounding it. There was decades of people trying to get this band back together,
right.
And people telling me that I'm never going to be able to do it. And that was another motivating factor to be the one to say I did it,
Right.
So, but these guys are like family. Like Night Demon plays most every gig with them. If we don't play, we're still there,
Right.
Like we just roll like that. Like the two bands are just forever connected. We own a building together. We have like a complex headquarters, all this stuff. It's like, we're just tied together,
Right.
And that's just it. And we represent Ventura County heavy metal. So, it's a great thing. I mean, there's other bands that I'm involved with as well on the management end, but like my company's grown. So I've been able to, as things progress, in your life and business, you're able to hire more people, and
Right.
like I have an assistant now. So it's like things are really cool,
Sure.
Things are cool. It's cool to be, I mean, you're a writer.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to be creative and just throw stuff out there. And before you know it, things start getting traction. And then like you lift up your head and you're like, wow, I've written all these books,
Yeah.
It's like, but you got to start. You got to start with one, right?
Yeah. Dude, you are singing my song, man. I swear. Now I just put out number 6 in November, and before I could even get over the headache of finishing number 6, I had people that were like, "Well, when are you going to write this book? And when are you doing that? And you talked about this on the radio. When are you going to do that?" So yeah, I get it, man. It never ends, and you never. As much as you feel you're accomplishing, it seems like you never feed the beast that wants more.
Yeah, you can't though. You can't. That's not, because once you've done that, then where do you go?
Yep.
I mean, you gotta decide to be happy on the journey. You gotta just decide. It's like a decision. You just gotta decide it now,
right?
And just be like, I'm never gonna get it all done. You just realize that, and you're never gonna perfect it either. So like, you just keep doing it and get better each time. Mm-hmm. And you gotta cut yourself some slack sometimes.
Right.
like there's only, you could still do great things just because not all of the things you do are great.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you're not gonna, you're not. It's like, look at baseball. Right. Like the guy who has the best batting average in history and has never been beat for freaking decades. He only hit 40%.
Right, exactly.
And he's like a god, and he's got a frozen head and all this stuff now. And he hit the ball 40% of the time.
Right.
It's like, man, I think about that sometimes, and I think, man, I got to cut myself some slack here. Like I'm trying my hardest here.
Sure.
So but you know how it is when creativity meets commerce. If there's always some tug of war there where you're just like you're just guaranteed for there's going to be frustration in your life. You know?
Right, exactly.
But in the end, we hope it's all rewarding, right?
Right. Well, I think the best way I can put it is I think we all have 1 million fans until we want them to give us $1, and then we don't.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. But you know what? Like, I'm all about people. The bands that are out there actually doing it and still giving it a shot, and like, just it's awesome, man. It can happen. I'm living proof, man. It can happen. You can go out there and do it. You just got to really hustle.
Right. Sure.
And that has to sustain. Even during the apocalypse, I'm still working. You know.
Right.
This is when the real focus happens. Like, you know, the world has made everybody take a vacation. They made them take a vacation. And you can't go to spring break and get drunk and get stupid around a bunch of people. You got to go take this time to dig deep inside and find out who you really are. Because when you come out of this thing, you know, if you don't have a job, you should have an idea of who you are as a person and what you want to do and where you want your life, what direction you want your life to go in. Because this thing is this pandemic or panic, whatever you want to call it, will end.
Yeah.
You know, but the world is forever going to be changed.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know,
we got to think.
Well, and during this time right now, you know, I've been doing a zillion interviews this week because, of course, everybody's off. You know, everybody's off the road, so they're out promoting their music. And I keep saying to everybody, and I'll say it to you as well, this might be the best time for bands, either new bands to get discovered or bands like Cirith Ungol, who've been away for a really long time, to come back, just because there's so many people sitting at home looking for something fresh to listen to, you know. And
I will say this then. Night Demon is putting out a single tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Called Empire's Fall. So we have a vinyl single for that's also available. There's no pre-order or anything like that. It's already done. It's already pressed. It's available. It's going to be available. So we just decided that this year we're going to release a bunch of music, and we're going to just drop it on the fans. We're not going to create all this hype, and it's perfect timing because of what's happening now. So we are trying to cooperate with the instant gratification of the world. Right. So I'll say that. Yeah, I could say that right now. Yeah. Sure. So we have a single coming out tomorrow, Empire's Fall. So for me, it's a good time. You know, I mean, I'm putting out the first Night Demon music in 3 years and the first Cirith Ungol music in 30 years within the same month. So even though we've had 90 shows canceled, we're still doing a lot of stuff here, you know.
Right.
So
how's that going to work for both bands? You know, because obviously when we all get the all clear, everybody's going to be looking for the same 150 clubs around the world to play in. Is that going to be crazy hard to get gigs and to play shows?
No, not at all. Not at all. One thing about us is I plan everything 12 months ahead.
Okay.
So usually, I like to plan 12. Usually it works out to about 9, maybe 10. So what's happening right now is things are being canceled up now through June. That's kind of where we're at with it, right?
Right.
This may go into August. I don't know. I hope not. But so right now we've got stuff rescheduled for late August into September. We've already had tours on the books for October and November and festivals that we haven't announced yet. Okay. So we're actually pretty safe. So whenever this thing gets turned back on, we're going to have something booked. So we're already booking into 2021.
Okay.
So, and our U.S. tour that just got canceled, we rescheduled it for April 2021. It's already fully booked again.
Nice.
We moved that one back a whole year. But, so we've got a lot of plans on a lot of stuff that we have not announced yet. So that's the way to do it. And that's the way I've always done it. And you know what? I've had people criticize me before saying, close business associates kind of criticize me a bit and say, hey, you plan all this stuff so far ahead that, sometimes the bands get opportunities that come up that we can't do that are, these opportunities are better than what we've already committed to. the problem with that is that if you wait for stuff to happen, it never does. And then you're stuck doing nothing and you have no plans. Then something like this happens and you're not playing a show for a year and a half,
right?
You know, because you're not going to be able to get anything. So, you know, I've always subscribed to that philosophy. You know, you got to have your own plan and you just follow your own vision with it. If somebody wants to get involved and you're available, or they want to take you on tour, some bigger band or whatever, and you're available, you do it. But other than that, you got to honor your commitments, because the worst thing is seeing a band drop off of a tour because they got a better opportunity and everybody knows it, you know, and they're not really honoring the fans that got them there. Like, they were totally happy with them doing their own tour, you know?
Right.
So that's the philosophy that I buy into.
No question. Now with this coronavirus thing, whether it's panic or pandemic or whatever, I personally think
a little bit of both.
That's what I think too. Is I don't think it's quite as scary. I don't think we should all be pretending that we're
turn the news off. Turn the news off. Yeah,
exactly. But so does it change? Does it change at all how you're very, very personable, you know, at shows and whatnot? Does this change how you do business at all, or no? Or
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. It's tough to say. I mean, look, I'm still out there in public every day. I go for a regular run and I go for long walks, and people have generally been pretty respectful, man, and pretty nice and pretty understanding. There hasn't been any weirdness out there, and it's the air is clear. It's great. Like in LA, I can't see any smog. I'm like, wow, this is cool. You know, like we're just kind of cleaning ourselves out here, resetting, you know, but I mean, I don't think, you know, who knows? Like, if people are just going to be weirdos forever after this, like, oh, I'm not going to shake anybody's hand, or, you know, I mean,
yeah,
I can't worry about that. I really don't. I want to live in a society like that, but you know what? I'll have no problem being the guy that people tell to back up. You know, like, I don't care. That's fine. I carry a knife on me everywhere I go, so you can say whatever you want to me.
Right. Somehow I cannot envision you being the guy that runs off the stage and into hiding somewhere in some dressing room. That doesn't seem like that would suit you.
Listen, I'm only Michael Schenker on stage. No, okay.
Exactly. Well, dude, plenty of stuff coming from you. You know, there's obviously Night Demon music, and there's certainly this new album, Forever Black. It is Cirith Ungol. And Jarvis, why don't you pick a tune from this? I want to try and keep you on schedule because I know you've got plenty.
Yeah. I gotta go. I actually gotta run. Yeah,
that's cool.
But
give me a song.
You want a tune from the new Ungol album?
Yeah, give me a tune and give me a quick story about it.
Yeah. Okay. Play the tune "The Fire Divine."
Okay.
This song is a song that Greg Lindstrom came in. Greg Lindstrom was the original guitar player.
Right.
Started the band in '72 and left after Frost and Fire. But he brought this song in. It's pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of a little like BOC kind of sounding parts. It's very weird. It's very Cirith Ungol weird, but it's not. It's like one of the less doomy tracks, and it's kind of a little like more poppy. I don't know. There's something about it that's really different that I like about it.
All right. Well, let's check it out right now. It's Cirith Ungol, and it is the Classic Metal Show.